he had a bypass on one leg. When he came up for like follow-up and surveillance of the left leg bypass, he was really just talking to me about how he was now missing out on his niece's soccer games and tennis matches because he couldn't get to them and go that far. And so, you know, he actually had claudication before we were ready and open with our OBL, but he held out and was like, no, I don't want it done in the hospital. I want it done with you guys. And I know we've made a difference, not only just for him emotionally, but also like for family and for life.
I am here with Rebecca, who's a nurse practitioner at Champlain Valley Vascular in New York. And we just realized we've met each other maybe the last two OEIS, but at least 2 years ago. So tell me about your guys' kind of journey into the OBL space at your practice.
So I started with Dr. Paps in 2016 as a nurse practitioner, but he's been owning his practice since 1992. With COVID and with billing changes or reimbursement changes, in 2023, he decided to open an OBL. So we bought a building, remodeled the building, and then started with the certification. And then ultimately in August 2023 is when we did our first case. And it's been a lot of work.
I mean, now you told me some fun numbers. Tell me about your growth over the last 3 years.
So from August 11th, 2023 to the end of that year, we did 76 cases. In 2024, we did 275. And so far in 2025, we've done 117 cases.
That's awesome. Now, how is your staff structure? You have the doctor, you're the nurse practitioner. What other staff do you have kind of in the practice?
So in the front of the building, which is more of the clinic, we have one full-time receptionist. We have a part-time receptionist that works 10 to 2 every day. We have a ultrasound technologist that has her own, full vascular lab. Then I, as a nurse practitioner, see patients about 5, days a week, unless we're running short in the OBL, and then I could go to the back. And then in the OBL, we have 2 to 3 full-time nurses, and the doctor, and that's it. So we don't have a scrub tech or anyone else, because we felt 3 nurses was better for redundancy of everyone's could do the same job.
Yeah. Now, something you said to me earlier that was interesting. So I don't do marketing for PAD anymore because of this reason. I think you guys have got a good solution. How are you handling when you get a PAD patient that's coming in, you don't know venous, arterial, you haven't done the imaging. How are you guys handling that workflow of getting them in and seeing? Because if they don't show up, typically there's a tech sitting around doing nothing.
Right. Yeah. So the self-referral PAD patients that we're getting mostly off of Facebook marketing right now, they are scheduled just with me as the nurse practitioner. So I will, get to meet them, talk to them, do a quick assessment. And ultimately, if I agree or think that it is truly an arterial problem, as I'm continuing to talk to them and get more information, I will go grab the Doppler and do an ABI myself and explain to them how the ABI is working, what we're measuring. And yes, it takes time to do the ABI, but I'm also getting to know them and doing the whole teaching as well. So even if I recognize, yes, there is a problem, your circulation is only 30%, I can be talking to them about what are the next steps as I'm finishing and doing the normal leg or whatnot.
I think what's so awesome about that is so many people would say, well, that's not efficient. But at the end of the day, that person's, they're ready to go. They're wrapped up in a bow.
Yeah. We've had, probably in the last 6 months, I can think of 6 or 7 people that, from the time that I've seen them to the time of their procedure has been less than 24 hours.
Especially with doing PAD and limb salvage and things like that. I mean, that's time matters.
Yeah, I'm tired of cutting off toes or legs or seeing people too late. So yeah, the quicker they can get in, and my patients and my staff love me. I'll get a phone call and I'll say, when can you come in? And the staff are like, really, Rebecca, you're adding another one on? Yeah, I am.
Well, I was talking to someone earlier, and I think they're like, I remember the first time being in an OBL and watching a doc do a PAD and just watching a leg just revascularize. And it's like a miracle. Like, it really is amazing to watch something come back to life.
It is. I don't want to say there's a better feeling, but it's a very good feeling because they literally hobble in without a pulse and they're able to walk out. And then when you do your post-op phone call the next day, the number of people saying he saved my life, saved my leg, you can quite literally feel the pulse and know it's back.
It is just crazy to hear that. And now, you mentioned earlier you're getting a business degree.
Mhm.
What made you have that interest to go that direction?
Um, Frustration, partially, of being asked so many questions from Doctor, who, I mean, great surgeon, but he doesn't have a business degree. You don't want, I don't want to say not everyone can, but you don't necessarily want your surgeon and your provider to be also the best business person. It's two different parts of the brain. And so he would be asking me questions, or we're trying to come up with marketing plans or anything business wise. And I was tired of not knowing the answers, or not having enough faith in myself that I had the right answer. And so I'm hoping that by finishing or starting and finishing the business degree, it will help me learn how to better make decisions, but also that confidence of, yes, this is, marketing. It's important. Let's do Facebook, all that kind of stuff.
You don't take this the wrong way, because I think it's a good thing, but you strike me as someone, if you're going to do something, you're going to do it right. Just getting that
0 to
vibe.
100.
So that brings me to my next question. You're here at OEIS. Is there anything new you guys are looking into or excited to learn about?
I would like to grow the practice. And I think Dr. Paps would like to grow the practice. We have enough cases in business to, I think, support another provider. But I also then want to, so far since we've been starting this, we know what we're doing and we know how to do it well. So let's open up the circle and let's do a little bit more. You can do a PAD case that's an angiogram and a stent, or you can get more aggressive at going after tibial atherectomy. And that was something new, of like the tibial atherectomy is what we learned last year, which then we, really took home and kept going with. So, are we comfortable enough now that we could maybe start doing embolization? Or would that be something that, if we hired another provider, would that be something that they're comfortable with doing and they could add to the practice and generate more business that we haven't even touched?
That's such a hard question, though. And I know the doc, like every doc wants to learn to do it, but it's like, should that be the way to go? And I can't tell you the answer to that.
Yeah. No, and since we were a small practice in Northern New York, there's things that Dr. Paps can do, but then there's other things that the hospital can support, right? Like that's more surgery. But I think it's fine to know what you're good at. And I think as a provider, as a surgeon, a radiologist, I think it's probably hard for them to admit that they're not the best in something.
No.
But I think that's also important, right? Like yes, Dr. Paps can technically do a renal artery aneurysm repair, but can the hospital support that? And so that's what's also important to refer out. And so like learning something new, that's not always, I think, the best. It's better to be the best in a few things than be mediocre in a lot.
Well, it's funny you say that. So, we do marketing, obviously, or lead generation, and we'll work with the practice and they'll do one thing and they'll crush GAE. And then the doctor comes to us the next month. It's like, I want to do UFE, PAE. And it's like, first of all, your poor staff is going to kill you. Like the doctors never ask about the staff. I'm sure you guys who are here can appreciate that. That's a whole operational change. But it's also just, how many cases are under your belt before you add 13, 14 things? Yeah, they're similar. And I'm not a provider, so I can't speak to that. But I can imagine even just from the consulting and assessment stage, like it's different.
Right. It's consultant assessment, but also let's talk about, so the doctor can learn how to do the procedure, but there are other staff. So in our case, we have nurses that scrub to the table.
Yeah.
They're just learning all the anatomy of the renals, the mesenterics, and the variants and the tibials, all that stuff. Now we're just going to add in random extra vessels. They need to learn it as well, because there's that part when you're scrubbed with the doctor. I think it's important to work together as a team of, if I'm scrubbed next to Dr. Paps and I see him doing something, I don't want to say he's doing something wrong, but I'll say like, wait, why are you doing that? Or why are you using the balloon, self-expanding stent versus balloon expanding stent? I want to understand, but also, is that the time to help him make sure it's the appropriate thing for everyone involved? And so that would be tough if you're just adding GAE, UFE, all this stuff. I can imagine that would be.
Well, and to your point, more is not always better.
No.
Especially was at the end of the day, I was speaking to someone earlier. It's like, outcomes matter. It's like if people are getting good outcomes, your business will grow.
Mhm.
And so if you guys are doing what you're doing well, then you don't need to do too much more.
Yeah, no. I mean, he does actually by opening the OBL, we have done more interventional radiology cases or, PAD, whatever cases, than the hospital would allow us to. Because
Wow.
when he was in the hospital, he had Wednesdays all day in radiology. That was it. So if we got a phone call Wednesday afternoon that someone's dialysis access was clotted, we had to wait until the next week to declot them, which meant then they got a catheter put in so they could get outpatient dialysis. They'd come in for their outpatient declot, but regardless, they now had 2 procedures done. And so we have more freedom to schedule better for the patients. So if someone, they ate Wednesday afternoon, I can look at Thursday's schedule, or even Friday's schedule when he's normally in the office and I'm in the office, and I'll see what of his patients can I absorb so that I can free him up to go do what's right for the patient and also keep them safe. So it's been great.
So I'm curious, just in like we'll say the last year, when you think about the successes you've had in your practice, different patients that have come, is there any one that stands out where there's like someone that you just know that you changed their life?
Um, it's funny. Yes, there's a few of them, but one in particular, he is certainly like family to us now. To the point like he just stops in and he brings us jelly or apples or whatever.
I think that's an upstate New York thing. So that doesn't happen at a lot of our metro practices.
I mean, he'll make pickles for us, and he just like. He doesn't even have an appointment. He just comes to like the business office and he just knocks on the door and we're like, and you can almost tell by the knock who it is. And we're like, what are you bringing us now? And, he's part of the family, but he had a bypass on one leg. But then when he came up for like follow up and surveillance of the left leg bypass, he was really just talking to me about how he was now missing out on his niece's soccer games and tennis matches because he couldn't get to them and go that far. And so, he actually had claudication before we were ready and open with our OBL, but he held out and was like, no, I don't want it done in the hospital. I want it done with you guys. And I know we've made a difference, not only just for him emotionally, but also like for family and for life. So yeah, that's been great.
From a business and marketing shift in that, do you have stories like that on your website anywhere?
Not yet. That's something that is new to us. We have a consultant helping us with the marketing, but everything is taken with some doubt, no offense.
Yeah, no.
People, I can do this, that, blah, blah, blah. Can you? Like we've been burned a few times with other people that have come to us and it's not really resulted in anything, at least in any metrics that we've had to measure so far. And that's also why I'm going to business school because I'm tired of not knowing. And so, no, we have a blog. Actually, one of our staff members had varicose veins fixed with us. I tell her story regularly, every week, multiple times when I see patients for varicose veins, and they're talking about how, does it hurt? And they, radio frequency ablation. You think it's going to sound this god awful thing. We're putting something in your vein and we're going to burn it. And they're like, But I tell the story of like Abby, the nurse that will be in shortly. She had varicose veins treated. She literally clocked out on her lunch, had it done, and finished working the rest of the day because she wanted to and it didn't hurt. So she just wrote a blog that we're going to put on our website so that they know. But
that's awesome. Can I give you some like unsolicited free marketing advice
yeah.
There was a wound care clinic that I was consulting for, and I thought this was genius. I didn't come up with this. This was them. But they had a bell hanging in their office. And so it was their healing bell. But what was cool is what they did when I was working with them is they changed their intake. So as soon as they brought a patient in, before they met with the provider, the MA is like, that's our healing bell. When you're fixed or when you're healed, you're going to take a picture there and do that. And so like they were setting the tone of, you're going to do a testimonial for us from day one. And then the person was excited to do it versus like the awkward, like, would you do a video about what we did?
Right. No, that's great. And it really hits home to me. Before I was a nurse practitioner working with Dr. Paps, I was a nurse on the med-surg oncology floor. So I was hanging chemo, and by the time people are admitted, you're seeing the worst of the worst cancer patients, right? And so in the cancer center, you ring a bell when you've been treated. So that is perfect.
I mean, it's this, as much as I don't want to compare like apples to oranges, but like to the people that are coming into your thing, that's the biggest thing in their life at that point. And so for them, that's victory. But it also gives them hope because you're like, hey, when you get this, like you obviously aren't promising any outcomes,
Right.
but I think it just sets a tone of like, hey, when you're better, would you mind sharing your story? And they're like, yeah. And now they're excited versus it's just weird asking later.
Yeah, no, it is. It's very weird and awkward. It's particularly because I wear so many hats. I'm seeing you as a provider, right? I've fixed you. You're great. You're happy. You just told me how everything's great. Now, when you come out or even in the room, now can you do an advertisement? Can you do a review? It's just, I don't, it's hard when you're a provider in medical to then try to market because you're taught not to, right? Like it's not a business.
What's really funny is I was interviewing Dr. Kowalewski earlier who was speaking, and he's like, every single disease has an awareness organization where he's like, awareness is marketing. Like you doing a video for her about what her PAD was, half the population doesn't even know what PAD is. So her telling her journey, now the fact that you were part of that journey makes it better for you guys, but like you're still just helping awareness at the same time. So take that like business side out of it. You are helping people. Obviously within HIPAA, and she shared her story and signed off, and people want to share. Not everyone's going to, but some people want to tell their story. And if you can give them a path to do it, though, they love you for it.
And it's also tough because I see many patients that, I can almost quickly look at people and just within a matter of a few sentences, they're telling me, especially with PAD and like claudication of like, look, I can't walk very far before I have to stop, and then I wait and I can be able to walk, again. And then when it gets worse, when it's respirating, I'm like, oh, my foot's killing me. And I'm like, I bet you're not sleeping at night. They're like, no, I haven't slept in 2 weeks. Or I said, or if you do sleep, you're waking up, you're hanging your foot down. Like once I'm telling them the symptoms that they're experiencing, it's almost like a relief of like, you get it. And what's frustrating is patients go to other providers, have it be, in PAD, podiatry, or their primary care, or somewhere
primary
else.
care.
And like, I'm not bashing primary care. I wouldn't want to be primary care. But you see your medical providers as experts, but the problem is they don't either. So it's education for the patient and the provider, at least in our area.
Well, it's interesting. I'm presenting tomorrow, and there's a clip from one of our practice managers where he started getting referrals because his patients were taking our Facebook ads for whatever it was for GAE and saying, should I get a TK or I have this?
Right.
And the provider's like, I'll look it up. I never heard of it. And so there's education coming that. So when you have testimonials, like if this was me and I was again consulting you for free, every time you get a refer from someone like from primary care and that person has a good outcome, I would get a testimonial and send it back to that provider. Hey, this is your patient. Like, look what happened.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I
We
believe
just started doing like patient satisfaction surveys, and that's where I was hoping that that's maybe like a segue into like, hey, they were really happy. Do you want to go public with it? But
it's hard, but and especially the population is doing PAD, but I feel like for every 10 people, there's that one that like is like, what can I do for you? And you're like, you know what you could do for me? Like it would mean the world to our staff if you told everyone how awesome we were.
yeah, we have on Fridays we have dress down days, and we have either black T-shirts that have our logo or like a black sweatshirt that has our logo. And we wear jeans. We've had 4 patients, and we just did this in the last 6 months. We've had 4 patients though that they come in on those days and they're really happy. They're like, I want one of those, and so we've purposely like ordered their size to give them their shirt. And then we had one patient who was with their spouse at dialysis, and then the dialysis provider is sending me a picture of the logo saying, why don't I have one of these? It's just,
So, and
they're happy.
That's a bad bribe, and you have to be careful on reviews. But if you were to say, hey, if you want to send us a video testimonial, I'll get you a shirt. Now it's neat. If they don't want it, they don't have to do it.
Yeah, no, these ones that we've just given it.
I'm sitting there like, I want testimonials. You guys are changing lives. I just want people to know about it. And I think that's the thing with testimonials is it's like, if people don't see it, like, I don't know if you saw my presentation 2 years ago or last year, but I had a clip of me with a patient doing a testimonial, and like that lady, when I've told her that like hundreds of people have gotten procedures because of it, like that made her happy.
Yeah. I do have a video that someone recorded. It's very interesting. She's a very public person. She actually gave us a video of herself. She was in Florida. She was wearing her sunglasses. I'm sure she was reading it off of her phone. But she recorded a video for us about how venous stenting had helped her so much. Her legs weren't heavy. She wished she hadn't waited. And I've had it now for like 3 months, but I've just been afraid to
put it out there.
Yes.
So this is a you thing because she wants it out there. I don't mean to pick on you.
Yeah, I know, but I guess legally, I don't know. Like she signed a consent. We had a lawyer who gave us the consent, and to me it looks fine. But I guess I don't know all the rules of what is violating HIPAA, what isn't. I mean, she's given us permission, but is there? That's the part that's unclear to
I'm
me.
not a lawyer, but I will tell you, have your lawyer look at all your intake paperwork. There should be a media release in there. And I would just do this as a standard across everyone. And then anytime we're going to post something, we just be like, hey, we're getting ready to post this here. Are you, is that cool? And just get that thumbs up. But I mean, if she sent it to you, I would assume that.
Yeah, we have like a picture consent, and then we do have the media consent. Not everyone signs the media consent unless I've had that real conversation of this is going to go public.
But yeah, I mean, and especially like if it's that situation, or like we've had systems we built in where like on follow-ups, it's like, hey, everything looks great. Would you mind sharing a video to some other people who are in the same situation as you, just on your experience? And if they say yes, it's like, cool, I'm just going to film it really quick, and then we have them sign it right there. But that's also how I phrase it. Would you mind sharing your story with other people in the same situation? Because it does give confidence to the person that's like, I don't know if I should. And it's like, well, hey, this is someone just like you.
Right.
And this is where she was at.
Well, then I challenge you to challenge me of like follow up with me in, I don't know, 3 months to see if how many people I've pushed.
All right. So when this goes public, anyone comment on wherever this is posted, this podcast, and ask her for the testimonial. We're going to all look for it. All right, guys? Well, I really appreciate you hopping on and just interviewing. I know this was out of your comfort zone today, but thank you so much. And just, again, great nuggets. Again, drop a comment. Make sure she posts the testimonial. And I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.